And Mark, let's move on into our final topic before we make our picks. And we're looking at the New York Giants. And before I ask you the question about Eli Manning and the Giants, I want to get something off of my chest. And this all came up because this past weekend, Sean and I were talking, and, it was during the Rams game, and I'm like, ooh, the Rams are beating the Giants. Yes, because I am rooting for the kiss of death at this point in the season. And he's like, you do understand you picked them to win the Super Bowl, right? And he started going into how the Giants were horrible, and I was stupid for making that pick. I don't know if Sean realizes this, so I just wanted everyone to get on the same page here. The kiss of death is real. The kiss of death is real, and when I make a Super Bowl pick, when I make it, I know I'm going to be wrong. I know I'm going to be dead wrong. I'm just waiting to see what happens to the team that I had
still
picked.
Always have you go into it's not like you're going to go out there and say the Packers are going to get in it and win every time because you want them to lose.
No, I seriously are like, this is the team I think will win. I seriously make a pick, but it's more of like I have that thought in the back of my head of like, oh, this is going to end.
Let's see how it gets
let's
ruined.
Wait to see how this gets ruined. Cardinals last year. The Colts are the best kiss of death finisher at 8-8. However, their runner-up, the Cowboys in 2015, did not fare that well. However, did make the playoffs. You got the kiss of death.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this, though, about the Giants. Should the Giants move on from Eli Manning? We're not going to have the discussion that First Take did. We're not going to say, should he be benched? But this year, after 2017, should they say, hey, Eli, it's been great, but you're no longer our starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you got to ride it out with Eli. I think he's done so much for New York. Mm-hmm. He's gotten them 2 Super Bowls. And he's been a good quarterback and everything like that. And he's still a good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say Eli Manning is a terrible garbage quarterback. Get rid of him right now. Mm-hmm. Because you just kind of look at it from so far. And, he's 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not great, but it's not terrible. He's had almost 2,000 yards, an 85 quarterback rating, but if you like that QBR, it's a 40. Mm-hmm. Not terribly impressive. So he's been a fine, solid quarterback. I mean, he's better than a lot of other options out there. He's certainly better than Geno Smith, who's your next option. But it really comes down to this. This Giants team has not been doing anything lately.
Well, even riddled with injuries, too.
Yeah, even with everything they've got going for them. But with, their star wide receivers on the field, still nothing. They weren't able to really get much of anything. There's a reason why they've only won a single game. They had this great defense last year, and that didn't really help out. That didn't really get much going for them. I don't really believe in Ben McAdoo being the right quarterback. Being the right head coach. And right now, I think Eli Manning's time as quarterback should be done. Just there's not really a reason to continue on with the guy anymore. This is a team that is going to find itself in a very nice situation where they will be able to draft one of the top 3, most likely, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft this year. They'll probably have the 3rd pick if nothing really drastically changes. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo will start winning some games for San Francisco, and all of a sudden they're the 2nd overall pick. You kind of have to move on. New York is going to find itself in a very similar situation to Indianapolis, and Eli might just find himself in a similar situation to his brother Peyton of being kind of ousted so he can go in somewhere else where the new rookie comes in and hopefully is going to be successful.
Very interesting you say that, because I was listening to, I believe it was First Things First on FS1 with Nick Wright and Chris Carter, and one of the teams they threw out was the Denver Broncos, of like, who could he go to if they get rid of him, because right now so he's got 2 years on his contract, but there's a potential out in 2019. So they can get rid of him after next year, potentially. Who should he go to? And one of the teams they brought up was Denver. Kind of be just like Big Brother. Let me go to Denver and try to win there, because right now they don't know what they have at quarterback. Right now they're trying to hope that Brock the Cockadoodle-Doo is going to do everything for them. The thing that I'm ready to say is Eli done? Not yet, but the timer has started. And the reason I'm saying that is I don't want to pin all of this on Eli Manning. And the reason being is this organization recently, basically the past 2 years, has not done what they needed to do to help Eli out. And I'll say, when they brought in Brandon Marshall, I bit that and got reeled in by it. I thought that he was going to be a big help to this team. Did not see OJB or OBJ go down. But the two things that this team did that hurt Eli Manning, number one, they used Tom Coughlin as a scapegoat for not making the playoffs, got rid of him.
Sure, but I don't disagree with getting rid of Tom Coughlin.
Basically, the thing well, look at the team now. You basically got rid of Tom Coughlin, who is now not a head coach, but he's doing things in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville already looks better with him having his fingerprints on that team already.
That's one of those Marvin Lewis wins enough type of situations where you say it hasn't been working. Sometimes
I would
you
say
just gotta
Tom
go.
Coughlin, different boat than Marvin Lewis, just because of the pedigree.
I mean, it's different because he's won, but what has he done lately?
And also, it's because depends on who you get to replace him. You got rid of Tom Coughlin, replaced him with Ben McAdoo.
Did well as an offensive coordinator. He's just one of those guys that's a better coordinator than a head coach.
You can get rid of, who was it that the Patriots got rid of? Was it Pete Carroll they got rid of? You can get rid of Pete Carroll, but if you get Bill Belichick and I know that's a different one because Belichick was kind of unknown with the Jets and then made his name was with Cleveland, made his name after going to the Jets, and then made his name with New England. But if you get a guy who's the next Bill Belichick or that caliber, then fine. But if you get Ben McAdoo is not your head coach. He is your offensive coordinator, and there's a problem when it's like, oh, well, you're an offensive mind. You were the offensive coordinator. Now as the head coach, you have to give up play calling opportunities, and that's when your team won the game, when you gave that up. Not a good sign for me. So I think, McAdoo is a big problem. Number two is, what have you done to give Eli a run game? Nothing. You have done nothing to give him a run game. I know you drafted Wayne Gallman, who I am high on, and I think in the future could be a good backup running back for you. I don't think he's a starting running back. You haven't gone out there to get him a quality rushing attack. Yeah, you loaded up on the defensive side. That's great. But you can give the ball to the offense all the time. If the other defense knows you're going to pass it, they're just going to not load the box and not respect the run game. So those are two things that I think of. However, I do think the Giants this year in the draft need to take a first-round quarterback. They basically need to do what the Green Bay Packers did. We're taking our guy. He'll sit behind Eli for a year, maybe two, depending on what we want to do with his contract, and then he's our guy, and Eli is gone.
But I don't know that, either like a Darnold or a Rosen are going to be in the same situation of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, yes, was drafted in the first round, but Aaron Rodgers was drafted as a project. He was drafted as a guy who everybody knew needed time to work things out. Very similar to Paxton Lynch, who was drafted by the Denver Broncos to sit there and learn for a while. Problem is, Paxton Lynch hasn't learned anything. Aaron Rodgers did. You get a guy like Rosen, you get a guy like Darnold, and you're ready to go.
You're saying like Andrew
That's an
Luck.
Andrew Luck situation where you're saying this guy doesn't sit. This guy does not learn. He goes out there and he wins. Sorry, Eli. And I think that the New York Giants could easily, like you said, there's an out in 2019. They don't have to worry about 2019. You can trade him, not today, or past the trade deadline, but you can trade him to a team that will be willing to take him. You're not getting a first-round pick
this offseason
because he's 36 years old.
You're saying this offseason, trade him because you're going to take a quarterback in the top 5.
If a team like, the Denver Broncos aren't going to go to the draft to get a quarterback, or they're not going to sign Kirk Cousins or something like that.
Or if Big Ben retires.
Yeah, there's a team out there that is going to be a quarterback away. And Eli Manning can be that. Eli Manning is a good quarterback. Eli Manning will make dumb mistakes, but if you're a team like the Denver Broncos or the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can bail out Eli Manning, which has been, those years that they've won Super Bowls, they've been able to bail him out of some of those interceptions.
Question for you, and this is me just spitballing off the top of my head. Guy we talked about last week, Kirk Cousins. He hits free agency. If you are the Giants and you have made up in your mind we are moving on from Eli, which would you rather do? Go all in to sign a guy like Kirk Cousins, or say, no, we will draft our young quarterback. Go through the pains maybe early, but we will have our young quarterback.
I don't think New York has the money to get Kirk Cousins. I mean, look at all the big signings they've had every offseason lately. I don't think they have money to do it. And if you paid attention to the San Francisco 49ers video, you know I want one of those young quarterbacks. I'd be willing to pass up on Jimmy Garoppolo to have one of those young quarterbacks. Unfortunately for San Francisco, that kind of involves tanking, but whatever. Maybe this is the NBA. I think that you got to get one of those young guys. And if anything, right now, the NFL has a little bit of, an unfair taste in their mouth of these rookies can be successful. Carson Wentz did it. Deshaun Watson did it. Mariota's doing pretty well out there. Jameis has gotten himself hurt right now. But you have a lot of success for some of these young guys. And then you have some struggles, too. Jared Goff went through a bad coaching situation, mostly. Like I said, Jameis Winston got hurt, but he's been having trouble this year as well.
And the thing with the Rams are the perfect situation of get a quarterback, the right coach, and they'll do great things.
Yeah.
Like, just think of Sean McVay is the most important part to that Rams team. Because it's like Jeff Fisher's there, team can't do anything. McVay comes in, they look like a totally different team.
Oh, yeah.
One of the top two offenses in the league, them and Philly, and right now they're a playoff team. Right now they're an NFC West champion.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where, New York needs to kind of find that person. I know they felt like they had something going with the Eli and McAdoo connection, but he's just not a head coach. They need to find one of those guys that can make that transition. And that's one of those reasons why there's already people saying that, I know right now the hot topic is the Bucs have given up on the season already. But the New York Giants, that looks like a team that's quit. Yes. That looks like a team that's done.
Watching this past week, it looked like nobody wanted to try.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to try.
I don't blame them. They have had a very defeating season. And it should be a lot better. There's a reason why you picked them to be a Super Bowl winner. They are a team that should be better than this, and they're not.
Here's the thing I want to bring up, and Chris Carter brought it up today, and he was like, with Nick Wright was like, really, you would do this? And Chris Carter's like, yeah, I'd call Eli into my office today. I'd tell him, and I'm not even associated with the team. He said for the next 2 years, Eli has offered $13 million this year. So $10.5 million, $11.5 million. And with bonuses, it's going to be his signing bonus is $6.2 million for each year. And then he has a roster bonus as well for the next two for $5 million each. He says, I'm calling Eli in. I'm saying, hey, you know what? You're taking a pay cut. You are taking a pay cut because you are not good enough. You're going to take a pay cut like the rest of these quarterbacks like Tom Brady and such are doing so that we can go out and get pieces. And if you don't like that, we'll release you and you can leave.
I think in that case, Eli would say, yeah, do it. Release me. I'll make more money. Eli Manning from the Manning family.
Which, if you're a Giant, you're not really mad at that because you're going to draft a quarterback. Hopefully, you're going to draft a quarterback anyways.
Yeah, and I don't know. Geno Smith might come out there and win you 5 games, and you're out of it now.
You know what? Speaking of him, it is funny that in New York with the Jets are horrible. He leaves one New York to the other New York. Is he the problem? Is he the bad omen? Maybe. Because the Jets are decent and the Giants are not, and he switched hands.
To go back to Eli here, there's a reason why certain people on TV are not GMs or not head coaches, because that's a terrible idea. To sit there and say, I'm going to tell this guy, you take a pay cut or we're getting rid of you. The quarterback, of course, is going to say, no, I'm not taking a pay cut. We signed a deal. You're honoring the deal that we signed. And then is going to go home, Eli, and tell Archie, his daddy, that, can you believe what they just said to me? Everybody now knows that they said this, and now New York can't get anything out of trade value for Eli because everybody knows you just said you were going to cut him. So cut him. We'll sign him then. No one's going to trade for him then. That's shooting yourself in the foot. The league is a small place. Everybody finds out everything. We found out that Fournette got his suspension because he didn't show up for a team photograph. Didn't take long to figure that out. Took
And you
want to
know, and I heard this through ESPN 1000. According to them, you want to know where he was at this past week when he was late?
No, I don't know.
When he missed that team meeting this past week and why he didn't start this last game, the guys on ESPN 1000 here in Chicago said he was at his son's school reading to his class.
Nice.
Was reading to his son's class. Nope. Doesn't matter. I get it. You were late. He's building the culture. But It's like, come on. For the one time an athlete does something where it's like, okay, he did something good, and we punish him for it.
Yeah.
Guess he's never going to do that again.
Right? Who cares if your son knows how to read? You can pay people to teach him how to read. Yeah, I just think that, I mean, that one blows my mind of why you can't call Eli Manning and say you're taking a pay cut. It's never going to happen.
And
this is the man who demanded to not go to San Diego.
Well, and here's what I would do if I was the Giants, and it's all because of that potential out. I would take whichever quarter. Let's say I'm top 3, because right now, looking at the standings, I know that the Browns and Niners are basically 1-2. Would they be 3?
They would be 3.
They would be 3. Yep. And sitting there at number 3, I'm taking whatever quarterback. Let's be honest.
One of the two will be there.
Like right now, Darnold's not going to be there because he's going to go to Cleveland. Darnold's going to be, unless he stays, Darnold will be gone. That's what I'm saying. So
maybe
Darnold's
he'll
out.
pull an Eli and say, Cleveland, or maybe, I'm not going to go if you draft me.
It doesn't matter because
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't
still.
matter because the Browns are Moneyball. They trade the pick. Whoever wants Darnold trades for the pick. Darnold is taken. Or the 49ers could do that.
Could trade.
Either one.
Maybe both.
But like whether it's a Rosen, whether it's a Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph, and I'm not saying these guys are this high, but I'm taking that quarterback that I believe in. Take him right there, and then I say, hey, you know what? Eli, this is your last year. The Rook is like open season in the off season. The Rook comes in, can have the opportunity to win the job. Whoever wins, it's their job. But then at the end of this first season, let's say Eli wins it and the Rook is on the bench after 2018 season. Eli, it's been great. You've been cut. And then the rookie's sophomore's my starter.
That's a silly idea. You can get trade value out of Eli Manning. You trade Eli Manning. 1, 2, the reality of it is Archie Manning's going to be at your doorstep saying, trade my fucking son, the moment you even think about drafting the next quarterback. Archie is not going to allow this to happen. Archie still has too much power, too much sway in the NFL.
You know what that really sounds like when you say it that way?
Huh?
Sounds like somebody else.
Helicopter parent?
No, it sounds like somebody in the NBA that no one wants to shut up about.
Yeah, right.
But no, it won't say that about Archie Griffin.
Archie Manning, yeah.
Archie Manning. I said Archie Griffin. Archie Manning.
Yeah.
Won't say that about Archie Manning because he's not LeVar Ball.
Well, he hasn't
spoken as
he
LeVar
hasn't
Ball.
Annoyed us enough. He is behind the scenes making things happen. But it was the same thing with Andrew Luck when there was all that talk with the Colts. Peyton and Archie and everyone is saying, no, you're going to release him. You're going to do something. You're going to do whatever needs to be done for Peyton to not be sitting on the bench when Andrew Luck is out there. That will not be allowed. I see a very similar thing if they do anything like that for Eli. They've already tried to. Already tried to pull their weight to get him where they wanted him to go.
You know what? Then, and this is just the sadistic part of my brain talking. You know what I would do? And I'm not making any of this known. This is just in my head. 2018 rolls around, and we draft our quarterback. I tell the coach, I go, okay, you're listening to me. We're gonna say it's an open competition. The Rook's going to win. The rookie's going to win. We're premeditating that we're going to start him, but we're going to say open competition with air quotes. 2018, Eli sits. Eli sits. Let that stew, let that hatred sit there, then I'll trade him. And I'll get whatever I can get out of him. And that's, like I said, That's me being sadistic. That's me
That's just
basically holding a grudge. Not saying
that's a
what
bad
they,
idea, though.
Not saying that's what they should
You're
do,
gonna
Mark.
lose trade value by allowing everybody to go answer the quarterback situations.
Mark, I just said that's not what they should do.
Yeah.
That's my sadistic,
saying,
grudgeful
Ricky,
side talking.
Ricky, like I said before, there's a reason why some people in the media are not GMs and things. This one's yours.
I am not trying to be a GM or
This one is yours.
a owner. I'm just saying that's my sadistic, that's my grudgeful side, because if you guys haven't noticed, I hold grudges. I'm a grudge holder.
Yeah.
That's what happens. But any final thought with Eli? Should they move on? Will they move on? Which quarterback in the draft would you target if you were the Giants?
I'm not targeting anybody because I'm taking whoever's available for me, I think.
So let's say
because you're not going to get the choice.
If Darnold's gone, do you take Rosen at 3?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. The problem that the risky thing that they fall for, New York right now is hoping that San Francisco wins a few games. And in fact, they get to play them this coming week.
That Jimmy Garoppolo starts and actually...
Yeah. So if I'm New York, I am going to do everything in my power to lose this game. I'm not even going to show up. I'm going to say to you guys, it's at your own... actually, no, you're going to go to San Francisco.
Discretion.
I'm going to say, no, you guys win it. We're not going to play. And give them the win because you want them to have the tiebreaker. Because the biggest fear in my mind is Cleveland either trades and someone gets a quarterback or takes a quarterback. San Francisco, you feel safe that they're not taking a quarterback. Well, what if they trade back?
Yeah.
Somebody takes the quarterback.
Well,
you're screwed.
We've seen Lynch do that last year, and I can feel Lynch does that
screwed
again.
in that case because then what are you going to do? You're going to, I don't know, draft Allen? I don't know. Who's the third quarterback in the draft?
Well, right now...
nobody at number 3 is going to really be that worthwhile.
The quarterbacks that you're looking at here, and this is not based on where they should go in the first round, is you've got Darnold, Rosen, Baker Mayfield's out there, Mason Rudolph's out there, Lamar Jackson's out there. Josh Allen's kind of fallen off the face of the earth, it seems, the quarterback from Wyoming. So it'll be interesting how these quarterbacks kind of surface.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, Darnold could look at it and go, nah, I'm going to stay in school.
Right?
I'm going to stay.
That's going to be the worst case scenario for New York in that case. So, I don't know. A lot of time. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Should the Giants move on from Eli if you were the GM? What would you guys do? Trade him this offseason, draft quarterback, have him sit behind Eli, release Eli? What would you do? Let us know down below in the comment section.